I was a nervous first year at NYU's Interactive Telecommunications program. I had been thrown headfirst into a whole new world of technology. I was learning how to write programs for my computer, build circuits, and solder, things that I never imagined I would ever do prior to enrolling in the program. And I felt in over my head with all of this new technology that I was encountering. That semester, I was lucky enough to get a job on campus as a student worker in the ITP equipment room. And I was showing up for my second shift. I remember this very clearly. I had no idea who I was going to be working with. The shifts were assigned in teams of 2. I didn't know anything about this person, just that his name was Antonius. When I got to the equipment room, I was there for about 5 minutes, and all of a sudden the door opens and in walks this talkative, confident student who really seemed like he knew what he was doing. I was in awe of his confidence. I was in awe of the way that he held himself and the appearance that he had, that he knew just what he wanted to do and where he was in this program. That's what I wanted to be. And it was so inspiring to see somebody who had already reached that point, but where I was and where he was seemed so far apart, and the gulf between them seemed really insurmountable at the time. Little did I know at that moment that over the next few years, we would be working together pretty consistently and mostly in the same office for years to come.
I remember that day very well. I was faking it. I really was also I didn't really have the confidence, but I was faking it because little did Roopa know, when I first got to ITP, I was also very nervous because in order to get into the program, I had to speak with Red Burns. Red Burns is the founder of the Interactive Telecommunications program in 1979, and she became the director for 28 years. She is known as the godmother of Silicon Alley, and the program is now run by Daniel O'Sullivan, and women make up half of the ITP student body, a rarity in a program that's heavily invested in technology. So people like Roopa, one of the most talented and also put together people I knew, I met at ITP. Now, the ITP graduates have taken on many important roles in different corporations such as Apple, Google, Disney, and also at nonprofits and organizations like the ACLU, and also government organizations like the UN, and even freelance for NASA. Many startups also began at ITP, such as Littlebits and Jewelbots, also Foursquare. In fact, the founder of Foursquare fell in love with ITP because of the ITP show. The ITP show is a place where the students could exhibit their work and show off what they can do. And he encountered this, and he said, encountering a weird art show on his first visit was how he fell in love with ITP. This show was the ITP end of semester show, and it has earned the program the moniker of the Center for the Recently Possible. It was at this show that I see things like pizzas doing sit-ups, and I realized that there's a real possibility with technology that, there's only one place that I can go to where I can learn how to make a pizza do a sit-up. It's also the place where I first encountered the wooden mirror by Danny Rosen, a mirror made out of wooden blocks. It was also where apps like this one were developed. Metadata Plus, which used to be called Drones Plus, showed a map of recent drone strikes within the world.
So in our experience, part of what made ITP so great is obviously the classes were amazing and the teachers were amazing. We were learning from a really distinguished group of faculty. And the opportunity to spend 2 years really working on your own projects was obviously a thing that drew most people there. But one of the things that ITP was really great for also, and part of what made the student experience so wonderful, was this idea that of engineering serendipity in order to generate encounters or to encourage encounters. ITP did this really, really well, not necessarily only in the curriculum, which Antonius just talked about, but also in just the physical layout of the space. As you can see in this photo, the ITP space is open. It's very wide open. The classrooms even have glass walls so that people can kind of see in and out, even if they're not actually in the room, and can observe what's going on. The main area is occupied by students doing work, and that's basically the majority of the space on the floor. So every time the faculty have to enter and exit the building or the floor, they basically have to see all of the students working. This also enables students to kind of see what each other are doing as well, and to kind of take a look at everything that other people are working on. It's much easier to talk to somebody about the cool project that they're working on if you're sitting right next to them, seeing them work on it. As a result, many people's favorite part of their experience on the floor, the 4th floor of 721 Broadway, was the sense of community that resulted just from being able to encounter so many diverse people at all times, people that they wouldn't necessarily have been able to encounter any other way. And so in figuring out how to bring this magic, or to bring kind of the fundamentals of ITP over to the IMA, or Interactive Media Arts program, there was kind of a sense of bringing that magic and serendipity and encounter over to NYU Shanghai. The founding directors of the program, Marianne Petit, as you see here, as well as Matthew Belanger, really tried hard to bring some of that same magic over to IMA from ITP. And a lot of that is reflected in the way that the physical space is designed. As you can see here, everything is on wheels, the tables, the chairs, everything. So the whole setup can be reconfigured if you need to. If you have to move around a bunch of tables for a project or a presentation setup, or even just to get really close to somebody whose work you want to kind of observe, or if you want to work next to somebody, it's totally doable very quickly and very easily. The classrooms have glass walls, a lot of them, so you can actually see what's going on inside and nobody feels really closed off from each other. And most importantly, the students, faculty, and fellows in the studio all work in an open space with no walls. Nobody is closed off from each other, kind of facilitating the ability of people to kind of see what they're working on, talk to each other, and collaborate. And these ideas are not only exhibited in the layout of the space. It's a very good place to see it, but it's definitely not the only place. In fact, some of the best places that you can see the joy of encounter within IMA is from the work that comes from 2 of our foundation classes, known as Interaction Lab and Communications Lab.
Many of the students who come to IMA come as consumers of technology, and they find during the prerequisite courses how much more difficult it is to become a maker and to become a creator with the technologies. Interaction Lab introduces the idea of physical computing, thinking of the computer beyond the screen and the keyboard. And one of the tools we use to teach is an Arduino. It's a microcontroller that you can program and reprogram. The Arduino allows you to create things that have computing abilities, but they are not necessarily looking like computers. And one of the first assignments the students have to do is, within the first 4 weeks, show us that your Arduino can do a trick. So imagine if you own a computer and you're trying to teach your computer to do a trick. That trick can be roll over, play dead, or anything. That's why we call it the Stupid Pet Trick Show. During the Stupid Pet Trick Show, the students have to show off that their projects can do a trick. Here's one such trick. It's called Goth Hates Flash by Angelina, and the student learned how to move a motor. The student also learned how to sense light. Combining the two, she moved the motor whenever it senses light. But what's more important is she understood the technology well enough that she could create a story out of it. And the narrative that she created was she created a puppy named Goth, and Goth really hates when you take flash photographs of it. The students also do much more, so the students work much more thoroughly over the semester, and even though the tools are very simple, the projects that come out of Interaction Lab can become very complicated. Another aspect of our program is iteration and multiple prototypes. This is a project by Sophia and Jose. It's called Fortune Cookie. They went to the health and wellness people and they asked them, hey, how do we make people less stressed out? So they created a system where you get a fortune cookie by squeezing a ball, and then you get to read what's inside of it. There is a quote that inspires you, and then afterwards, you return the favor by placing another quote into the machine, and the only way you open the machine is by smiling. So your smile opens up a latch. This is after months of iteration. So they had done a first version first for their midterm project, and then combined it with computer vision to understand when the person smiles. Another aspect of Interaction Lab is to learn the idea of computational media and learn how to make your computer do things for you. We use processing, a computer language whose hello world is not text, but rather an image. And one of the challenges we ask people is, how can you introduce your digital creations to the physical world? And that's where often magic happens, when the digital encounters the physical. This project is called Picasso by Maya Wang, and she had programmed in processing a way to send values to motors in order to draw. So anything that she programmed can be drawn. One quote I remember very well from Red Burns: to me, the computer is just another tool. It's like a pen, and you have to have a pen to know penmanship, but neither the pen or penmanship will write a book for you. I am so happy to live in the world where I can teach our students how to make their own pens.
So the second of our two foundation classes is entitled Communications Lab, or COM Lab as it's colloquially known to students and faculty. COM Lab is meant to kind of introduce students to the world of digital media, which involves its own encounters, which I'll talk about momentarily. But it's notable in the fact that it's one of the only IMA courses that actually requires students to work in groups almost the entire time. This project that you see behind me, entitled Lifespan by Natalie, Chen, and Lisa Moon, represents the first major assignment that students have in COM Lab, which is to create an interactive comic that involves artwork, storyline, and also interaction, all designed by you and your teammates. These teams are assigned randomly, so these people are encountering each other by chance, and they have to kind of work together in order to collaborate on taking both of their ideas and putting them together to create one cohesive, unified project. Natalie and Lisa did a really great job here at kind of taking both of their talents and skills and combining them into one project that clearly illustrate things that they were both really excited and passionate about, and incorporating it with user interaction in the browser, which they had been learning all semester. The other thing about COM Lab is that it's kind of a class that takes the traditional digital media that we all know, audio, video, and animation, and combines it with new media, in this case, web technology. This project, entitled The Mind of Joe, which was created by Hoyan Guo, Joseph Hemsersky, and Eric Shin, is an interactive video in the browser where the user can decide whether or not they want to see a first-person perspective, that is, a perspective from the main character's point of view, or a third-person objective perspective that embodies a more traditional video format. The way that the storyline is constructed and the things that happen in the storyline and what the user sees is all ultimately decided by the user, which would not be possible in a more traditional media context. This video was created specifically for user interaction and for the internet. As you can see, this first-person perspective is very different. It incorporates blinks, it incorporates shaky camera based on motion, it's kind of colored differently, and it embodies really different kind of filmmaking techniques, and the user can decide which version they want to see at any given point in time. For their final project, students are required to create something in the vein of internet art, which is an art project that basically can only exist inside the browser. This is a project called QWERTY by Haven Chu and Tommy Song. And it basically rethinks the idea of a piano by mapping piano keys to the top row of a user's keyboard, the QWERTY row, enabling them to write a tune and at the same time see an animation in the browser. Users can choose to play a pre-configured tune, or they can choose to kind of create their own based either the melody they want to create or the type of animation they want to create as well. So they have the option to kind of do one or the other based on whatever they're interested in. These projects are a really great example of kind of not only the encounters that these students have with each other and combining their ideas to create a single unified work, but also the encounter of traditional media, in this case animation and audio, with web technology and new media as well.
There's so much more to IMA that we can talk about, and there are so many more electives that we haven't even discussed. But I highly encourage all of you to come back to NYU Shanghai if you are just visiting, and if you are an NYU Shanghai student, definitely come to the IMA show at the end of the semester on December 15, where you can see all the magical creations by our students. So, feeling intimidated is not a bad thing, especially when encountering different things and new people. What's important, though, is we don't shy away. What's important is to know that whenever you encounter something new, you will find that it's foreign, but over time, you will start to feel more comfortable, and you will become, over time, more skilled at that objective. So you become better over time, and you become much, much more skilled as you keep going. So please keep going. And also, whenever you encounter new people, please keep an open mind and keep an open heart. Because I encountered one of my best friends and the best colleague I could ever have asked for. And if I did not keep an open mind and she did not keep an open mind because she was scared of me, I think we would be in a different place. But instead, we are with each other and we are working together to create IMA. Thank you.